Thanks very much everyone for joining us in this session, and thanks for the donuts. Thank you. Right, so today we want to talk about a subject that is dear to a lot of us. So some of us in this room, and we're going to find out very soon, some of us come from a Microsoft Dynamics CRM background. So we're very used to certain ways of doing things. And some of us come from a Microsoft Power Apps background, and they kind of either have done Dynamics or they haven't yet. So the subject of today's discussion is really about Dynamics 365 versus Power Platform. What are the similarities and what are the differences? And when which product, which technology works better? And there's no right or wrong, really. It's more, and that's why we did it as a roundtable, and we want it to be a very interactive session, because there's no right or wrong. Everyone will have their own opinion, their own approach, their own design of how to do things. But we're hoping that between us, between all the great brains that we'll have in this room, that we can come up with ideas and thoughts that can help us all move forward. So that's really the objective of today's discussion. If we were to introduce our team, Andy? Start.
Yeah, hi everyone, my name's Andrew Bibby. My background is Dynamics. I've been doing that.
I like you point at me when you say Dynamics, does that?
Yeah, well, I mean, Dynamics is best. I'm on the Dynamics team over here. Yes. So, yeah, and I've been doing Dynamics for about 15 years, so quite a long time. But yeah, I'm excited for the session. I really want questions, and hopefully we'll have a bit of fun as well.
Thanks, Andy. So I'm Mohamed Mostafa. I'm Solutions Director at Tech Labs London, and similar to Andy, my background is Microsoft Dynamics. We started, Andy and I think we worked together 2006 or 2007? Yeah, we were 15 back then, I remember, but anyway.
Straight out of school it was. Yeah.
Jason?
Hi, Jason Almeida, work for HR Solutions in pre-sales and solution architects. Thank you. Like these guys, I've had a Dynamics background as well, although I've had an XRM background, so you could say that's Power Platform-esque, but now my role includes doing both of them on a regular basis. So.
Brilliant, Trish.
Hi everyone, so my name is Tricia Sinclair. I basically work for Avanade as a customer I work for Avanade as a customer service European lead. I do specialize in D365, Dynamics 365, and that is my background, but I also do have a charity where I educate people on the Power Platform. So I do have a love of both, so it's going to be interesting for me. But yeah, happy to be here.
Fantastic. Reese?
Hello everyone.
Reese, by the way.
Yeah. That's when I was 15 working with them. So I've been a Dynamics developer, consultant, trainer, admin for 12 years. Dynamics 365, definitely my background, but much more Power Platform in the last probably 3 years. So I've got a little foot in both camps, but similar to Jason, very much on the XRM background. So talk more about that later, no doubt.
All right, so first of all, we want to thank our sponsors. Obviously the event is free for everyone, which is great. I remember back in the days when people had to pay a lot of money to go into events, so thanks for all the sponsors. I think all of us here are taking from our time to come and meet each other and educate each other and learn from each other, so it's thanks to those guys that we're managing to be here. Now, so the first question, thank you. So the first question, we want our audience to bring out your phones, please. Scan this QR code if you have a good camera, or come over to the screen if you want to, or type in the URL.
I'm sorry, the screen is so small, we didn't really plan for that.
Or type the URL in the browser. What we want to do, come on in. You can't carry on, you have to sit.
That's why we're here, Tricia.
Yeah. That's why you are here. Right, so what we want to do is we want everyone to feed into this discussion so we can find out more about our audience. We can find out more about audience based on, as you can see, that it's changing dynamically as you're answering questions. We're getting all the responses. We're trying to see, so 62% at the moment are both Dynamics and Power Platform, so that's great. Dynamics is going down, it's on its own. Yeah, I can see few likes and loves. So one love for both. Yeah, perfect. Likes for Dynamics. Brilliant. Right, so I think we've got a very good mixture of audience. I'm sure each and every one of us will have, one of you will have great ideas. So let's talk to the panel as well. Jason, you said you're Dynamics.
Yeah.
You said you're Dynamics. Trish, would you class yourself as Dynamics mostly, or?
Mostly Dynamics, with a love of Power Platform.
With the love of Power Platform. How many are mostly Dynamics and love with Power Platform, if you raise your hands? Okay, good. So, right, so I'll very briefly kind of, and I know most people here have probably known Dynamics and Power Platform, but let's think about the kind of the history very, very quickly. So back in the days when Microsoft used to be called, Microsoft CRM used to be called Microsoft CRM version 1 and 1.2 and 3.1 and all these versions, it was a very successful product in terms of a database with a business layer, with a security layer that people started to use for other uses other than just being a Microsoft CRM. They started to use it as a database and an APIs and a web service and build what we call XRM systems on top. So it could be something completely not CRM and not specifically CRM, but people were building on top. So what Microsoft did is they changed that or kind of adapted that model into the Power Platform, where you've got things like Dataverse. And of course, you have a whole suite of products that come with Dataverse and with the Power Platform, such as the Power Automate, Power Virtual Agent, Power BI, and the likes. Andy, what do you think from your side, from a Power Platform, Dynamics developer tools? How's things going from your perspective at the moment?
I think, and part of the reason we had this session is that I think that a lot of people are kind of confused about how these things fit together and when to use each one. So you can see here from the diagram, this is Power Platform here, and it fits into the rest of the Microsoft stack, right? So I know screen is small, sorry about that, but so on the bottom here you've got Azure, which all the services of Azure, and then Power Platform sitting on top of that, Dynamics kind of sitting on top of Power Platform, but then also able to use these other tools from Microsoft 365, developer tools, and build those solutions on top of the whole thing. So I find that there's quite a lot of confusion about how Dynamics fits into Power Platform and, what are these different things. So if you've got any questions like that, that's why we're here.
And if you think about when Microsoft found Microsoft CRM, as we used to call it, and all the other names that they had, when Microsoft found that a lot of customers and a lot of organizations are looking to use this as a database and build their own systems and solutions on top without having to use customer service specifically or sales or marketing, what Microsoft did is they wrapped up this database with the APIs, with the security, with all these kind of advanced features, and said to the customers, here's Power Platform. You do not have to have customer service app. You do not have to have sales app. You do not have to have marketing app. You can just have Dataverse and the Power Platform. You also have the Canvas app ability to create Canvas apps that connects to this Dataverse or to any other system. So it's really trying to empower organizations to do more without having to, what we used to do, buy every single Dynamics license. If people remember, there used to be Dynamics Customer Engagement License, which would give you every single Dynamics license, customer CRM license, but you only used sales, or you only used customer service, or maybe you haven't used any of this and you custom developed your own solution, not utilizing any of the built-in functionality. So that's a key differentiator between the Dynamics apps, which come with a whole raft of functionality and features and capabilities, or a database with APIs and settings like Dataverse, and the whole suite that comes with it, such as what we mentioned around Power Automate, Power BI, and Power Virtual Agent. Jason, Trish, Reese, do you have any views on this? Anything to add?
So I think I'll start by saying that, historically it was, to your point about XRM and people would build, but thinking about the Power Platform the way it is today, it has grown massive, and there is a shift in terms of how you would approach Dynamics or one of those first-party apps, and that's really why Power Platform has become so big, and it rightly should be so as well, because when you think about the fact that you've got AI Builder, you've got PBA, you've got all of the model canvas apps, as you mentioned, and then take it a step further, all of the ProDev capabilities as well through PCFs. It's just, there's just too much to say that you do, even though I said it, Power Platform and Dynamics.
I think in my opinion, Dynamics and Microsoft have invested a lot in first-party modules, right? The investment that they've made is general investment that is supposed to appeal to as wide a range of customers as possible, but it's never going to hit each and every single customer. That's where the Power Platform, in my opinion, comes to play, because that really is where you can provide your own custom intelligent automation on top of like a base solution that Dynamics first-party apps will come in. That's why I would always say you're never really going to have a full holistic solution of solving a problem with just Dynamics. You're going to put some part of the Power Platform in it in some way.
Pretty much echo exactly what Tricia just said. It's the same thing. Power Platform is the platform, Dynamics is the product, and Microsoft has invested so heavily into it that they've separated it to give people choice. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. You can use the model-driven side to do your own version of everything that Microsoft has done in the Dynamics suite, but it means that they can really escalate and innovate in their own applications. That's why we have so many Dynamics 365 apps. And I think that's the complexity, and that's why this question comes up all the time, is people get confused. You choose one or the other. You don't. You do both. It's always both. Well, not always both. You can quite often be in the Power Platform world without going to Dynamics, but yes.
Just to let you know, you can also do Dynamics a little bit sometimes without Power Platform, especially if you're just starting out, like a base solution, just starting. You might not need automation immediately, which means that you might just need D365. You don't always need it, but...
Fight. Does anyone have any question? Is it clear, Chris?
So basically, Mark Smith, you'll know him, right? Mark Smith, he basically said something that was really interesting the other day. He said Dynamics is dead. I mean, you get that. What do you think?
He said CRM.
So there is a Microsoft's MVP called Mark Smith, who is from New Zealand and is long-term veteran of Microsoft Dynamics, and he put a post, as Chris was saying, that said Microsoft Dynamics CRM is dead. So yeah, that's Chris's question. What's your answer, Chris?
I think that the answer, and again, it's maybe a little bit small, but you know, these are the products that are under the Dynamics 365 brand now. And these are just the customer engagement type applications, but there is actually 25 products under Dynamics 365 now. It's going off into commerce and retail and different areas. So Dynamics, as we used to know it, may be sort of subsumed into the Power Platform now. But the specific functionality for marketing and sales and commerce and F&O, that's where Dynamics lives now. That's what I think anyway. So it's going to continue. They're quite confused brands, but I can see that Dynamics will continue.
But I think that the message that we're hopefully from kind of this part of our discussion is that you've got the platform, the Power Platform. You can just use it as is, or you can go and use apps that Microsoft have provided. As Andy mentioned, there's about 20, 25 different apps that you can use. You've got sales, customer service, marketing, customer insights, sales insights.
Come on, 25.
Yeah, we've got time, right? So I think that's the. Any questions around this? Anyone? And by the way, as I said, we're all learning from each other. So if anyone is not sure, yeah. Yeah.
Housing, looking after a case, we have to have Dynamics targeted in that platform because Power Apps don't do case management. And that's kind of
Yeah. It's a very good point. Just give me 1 second. I love the interaction.
He's got the mic.
Very good question, and I think we're covering this on one of the questions. So if you don't mind, hold on to your question. If we don't answer it, but we have a question that we want people's opinion on, which is the buy versus build. That's what you're saying. So if a customer wants case management, should they build it from scratch on Power Platform, or should they buy the customer service app? As one example, but there are multiple examples like this. So we have it's a very good question, but we're literally trying to answer that together today. So Andy, shall we go to the next one?
Yeah, we had 2 other questions, but we'll come back to you.
If you don't mind, we'll come back to you. So
you want to do the second question?
Right, second question. Scan or write the URL.
You can just go back to the website that you were on.
Yeah.
And I will move the question along.
Second question should be showing up now.
I would, if my laptop would play ball, but it's not.
I have a confession, by the way. Andy is using Apple Mac. I rest my case.
Bear with me. It doesn't really play well with the dual monitors for some reason.
Let's take questions then.
Okay.
Here
Next question. Oh crap. I think we've answered the wrong question. All right, good.
Now,
this question.
Yes, it's happening. So, when building business solution, which tools do you typically tend to use if you're building a business solution? Are you a Power Platform person, Dynamics person? Ooh, Jason.
Jason's torn.
Yeah.
We've only got a couple of
Jason.
minutes, so Jason, so you know.
Am I seeing 0 on Dynamics? Whoa. That's exactly what Mark Smith was saying, right?
So I'm glad we've got some because that's part of the reason to have this session is to try and explain this stuff. So.
Here we go. Brilliant. Right. So I don't know, Trish. How do you explain this result?
Well, the thing is, right, like bear in mind, as I mentioned, intelligent automation, that's key. And if you're actually building a solution, solutions tend to be custom based on the business that you're doing. If you actually want to build out D365 in a product first way, you have to use the Power Platform. You cannot just have Dynamics 365 unless you want to actually sit and code everything, which no one ever does. That's such a waste of time.
Jason.
I think yes, to some extent it is both.
You
but
can have different opinions.
Yeah, but I think there is also a shift with. I mean, if you think back to when it was prior to Power Platform coming out, yes, you'd go in and you sort of build your custom solution on top of an existing app, and you'd customize it a lot. The way I used to look at it was the work we did. We tended to stick with the first party app, but then configure, customize 50% of the solution because the platform allowed you to do so. Whereas now what I'm finding is you're looking closer to get that 80 to 90% fit with one of the first party apps, otherwise looking to Power Platform. I mean, it's not a rule, but it works as a general guidance as well. But also, when you work with Dynamics, yes, picking on elements of the Power Platform to tailor the solution, it's part and parcel of the way you deploy the solution anyway. So I think for the most part, yes, it is both. You can't have Dynamics because it sits on top of the platform. So yeah, I think I am in agreement with Trish. Reese, do you want to add something?
Yeah. I mean, it's always both. You'll always get the best value out of using both, because even if you're just going Dynamics first and configuring, you have the Power Platform at your hands. Why wouldn't you use it? I think the most important thing for any choice when it comes to this is understanding the problem you're trying to solve and knowing the product. If you know case management, if you understand customer service, how it works, if you understand sales or understand customer insights, just spend a bit of time looking into what you can do with it. You don't need to build it, because you will be able to configure what's there to match most of what your customization needs are. Absolutely.
Yeah, on the use case, it is so common where someone has a term that might resonate with a first-party app term, but the business case of why the solution exists, you really got to think hard, because we've been in scenarios where customers, they do sort of internal work, and it is for managing some sort of sales pipeline, and say, oh, I've got a case that I've got to progress, and think, oh, customer service is the right fit because it's similar in name. But the use case, you've really got to think, does it match? Am I using the functionality? So I think that's a very, very good point there.
Brilliant, thanks Jason. So we've got 3 more questions and 20 minutes, so we'll try to be on time, right? Right, next question is about price, licensing, the L word.
Yeah, I think this is one of the biggest questions. This is one of the biggest kind of, to your point, it's almost, why would you want to buy Dynamics? Because Dynamics licensing right now is about 8 times more expensive just for a standard license than Power Platform or the Power Apps licenses. So, why would anybody be crazy enough to look at Dynamics? Particularly if you've got 1,000 users, 5,000 users, the costs are huge. So, why would somebody choose sales, for example?
Are you asking?
Question.
What is sales? Right, so there are capabilities in Dynamics 365 sales or customer service or marketing. Well, marketing is massive, but it's sales and customer services that you can't go and just build, or you shouldn't go and just build. Using customer service as an example, service level agreements. We have that as a very clear differentiator. You're not going to go and custom build service level agreements on the Power Platform, because you're going to be spending a lot of time and money and effort. Or in that case, if the customer is paying, if you're a partner, or if you work for an organization, it's a lot of money. It's literally a waste of money. And then after you spend a lot of time, money, and effort to build it, you're going to have to spend a lot of time, money, and effort to maintain it and support it and upgrade it. So it wouldn't make sense to go and build the SLA functionality. It would definitely make sense to have the customer service. And I'm just giving you one example of one functionality. Sales, you've got the opportunity management process, the leads management process. If it is just a very simple one, yeah, maybe you can go and do it on Power Platform, but there are so many different capabilities built inside the platform on the sales side that I wouldn't go and build a custom build. And that goes back to the buy versus build. Shall we ask a question? Or do you have a point to say?
No. These are our slides now. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you guys? Have you got an opinion? Like, what do you advise customers?
Do you want to ask the question on the price? Is there a question on the price?
No. We're well prepared.
I like a QR code.
Yeah. I mean, we could look at price in isolation, and yes, Dynamics is way more expensive, but then you have to put that into context with what you get for your money, which is a lot, which is why, to the point I made earlier, that you want to make sure that you're hitting the high percentage of overlap with what you need, so that you're getting your money's worth as well. Having said that, if you think I can go ahead and build it myself, I mean, there is a caveat to that, where the build versus buy topic, where if you're a very simple, small-scale organization and you think I need something really basic to get started, by all means, start on the Power Platform, but be cognizant of the fact that as you grow, or if you do grow and you adopt more functionality, think about transitioning into a first-party app.
See, my concern is, like, with the whole price, not a lot. Some might then choose to go the low-cost route of building a solution on the Power Platform, because it's cheaper. But then they have long-term pains. Long-term pains in terms of scalability, security, and all those aspects that are embedded in Dynamics. That's what you get from Dynamics. It's invested, it's proven, it works. But they're trying to run away from it. And then they don't do so well when it comes time to upgrade. So it's a long-term, it's more costly in the long term. So that's my thing on the price.
Yeah, that's very much what it is. It's a difference between paying up front for the licensing, which can, on paper, look very costly, versus what looks like a cheaper option to go and build it from scratch. But when you actually start factoring that in, and you only see that after about 12 months, that's when you actually really start to see the pain of having built something yourself. Because then you start looking back at the beginning and go, right, it's taken us 12 months to do all of this, and we've only just got maybe a 20th of what I would have got out of the box with Dynamics. It's a value ratio. And ultimately, the other side of it, it's a way of thinking. Dynamics, you're paying for a license where you're going to keep getting updates. You're going to keep getting improvements and better options. And the difference between that versus build your own is that build your own means you have to stay on top of the platform and have developers, whereas Dynamics, you just have to understand the product on a regular basis and make sure you can stay on top of the new features. It's just a different value proposition.
One other thing as well is in terms of the investment that Microsoft does, it's not just about understanding the product. Microsoft actually spent a lot of money on R&D and understanding the trends of the different industries, the trends of the different products and what people actually need and want. That's not something that a lot of companies are just going to do. So you're investing in your own R&D effectively.
Good point.
Yeah, I think basically I'll just ask the question if you want to replicate. Say, can I compete with Microsoft's dev team? It's probably going to be no.
It's almost like the cloud versus on-premise. Sorry, yeah.
Does that also go for Power Platform portals?
Power Platform? Portals. So does the same apply for Power Apps portals? On the pricing specifically or build versus buy? Pricing. Yeah. If we stop recording, I can tell you something. Yeah, I think there's a lot of point. From my point of view, I think the pricing of Power Apps portals is wrong, simply wrong. I remember speaking to the principal program manager who came up with the idea of how to price Power Apps portals, and I explained to him before the announcement that it's not going to work. We've got customers who are, housing association with tenants, for example, and they have 100,000 tenants who would go in and check their statements once every couple of days, or check a complaint or a repair. So if they're going to be, every time they log in, they pay $2, and you've got 100,000 customers, even if half of them logged in, you're paying $100,000 a month for a portal. So the pricing for portals is always a tricky.
Insane. Well, no, should we move on to build versus buy?
Shall we move on to
kind
build?
of overlapping, yeah.
We have been, go on.
I think they do. The two things do overlap.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I think to your question earlier, like maybe a little bit controversial, but I don't see actually sales and customer service to be all that compelling to buy the Dynamics product, and that's kind of historic. That there isn't actually a huge amount of functionality. So you could build your own opportunity, lead to opportunity sales process, and that's probably not a huge amount of work. But when you look at things like marketing, field service, project service, there is a lot of functionality there, which I think is much more justifiable to pay that extra for. But it all depends, and to this question, all depends whether you've got the capability to build as well. A lot of companies don't want to be software houses.
Yeah, but would you agree? There is also something in the license that says you can't go and build Microsoft Dynamics sales on top of. Has that been removed?
Yeah, because there is a solution.
How dare you, Mr. How dare you? Anyway, in terms of compelling reasons for D365 sales and D365 customer service, bear in mind the shift towards being able to automate intelligently D365 sales and customer service bring with it both sales insights and customer service on top of customer service insights, which allows a variety of functionality that is not going to be something that you can build on the Power Platform.
This is a good pre-sales answer.
You can't actually build it.
All right, I'm going to disagree with Andy there, because I would agree, I'd say maybe 4 years ago, where when you looked at sales and service, nothing much changed over the years before that. But now, because they've abstracted out the platform, there's a separate team working on the platform, but there is dedicated teams working on service. I mean, if you look at service, you've got productivity tools, Smart Assist, you've got AI-driven, what is it?
But
You've also got customer service insights as well. No, smart.
No, I think to be fair, and
Yeah.
what Andy's saying, sales.
Yeah.
Dynamics 365 sales.
And
Yeah.
customer service.
If the I don't really disagree with the question.
Yeah.
But sales,
Yeah.
Dynamics 365 sales.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
First of all, if the license issue is resolved, and by the way, what I say license issue here, Microsoft, if you look in the kind of the small text in the license, you would see that you cannot go and build Dynamics 365 sales as in the functionality on top of the Power Platform and try to compete with Microsoft, for example. So you can't go and create a custom entity called leads on the Power End.
This is changed.
But
That-
has changed.
Yeah.
But that has been there for 10 plus years. Yeah? So
Yeah.
it's not something new,
Yeah.
but that has changed recently. And I know that I didn't know if it's official or not because we've heard that Microsoft said we don't care about it. So this licensing issue
Yeah.
aside, sales, just
Yeah.
sales. I'll give you an option, a time to think.
Well, if you look at sales, okay, and you want to break it down, you've got all of the product management capability that sits underneath the sales capability. Yes, it's not great, but think about building it from the ground up with
Nobody
currency
uses it.
support. Sales accelerator as well, which comes sales insights, which comes as part of it.
It's not part
Or-
of sales, it's different license.
No, sales insights comes bundled
You
as.
get 3 bits of sales insights.
Yes,
for
you
free.
do, but you still get functionality.
All right, wrestling match.
So, let's add omnichannel to the list as well, because whatever you build on sales.
That's an
Omnichannel?
additional license.
It's additional license. Yeah, but it's a license decision. We're talking about features.
Yes, but it's
So build versus buy. Build versus.
build your own omnichannel solution.
Why not?
You won't, definitely, but from a licensing perspective, Microsoft could sell omnichannel on its own without having to have a customer service enterprise license or bundle it up as one license. What we're saying, in my view, that something like service level agreement and routing and case routing are good reasons, good features that are in customer service license that you shouldn't go and build, in my opinion. But sales, I think, is an exception. I don't think there is the amount of automation and capabilities in the sales module that is compelling. I would still tell my customers to go and buy sales because I just find it wrong to go and try to rebuild the data model that Microsoft came up with for sales. But from a features rich, in my opinion, I think sales is low on the agenda when it comes to features and functionality. But everything else, I agree, in my opinion. And I know Andy disagree with customer service. Yeah? Yeah.
Let's move on.
All right.
We've got a question.
Yes, sorry, yeah.
I think you have to look at the scale and the size of your client. So we're Dynamics partner, we build systems from like 20 users to 250. Now, these days I will always start with Power Apps, but parts of functionality will drive me towards doing a hybrid. So if I want to do resource or service scheduling, go to my customer service or field service. I've had clients where they want pure sales. I can build it,
Yeah.
they have no idea what they want. I show them dynamic sales and they say, I love that.
Yeah.
So I'm not even bothered arguing, get them
Yeah.
out of it. But I think for a lot of people start with a lot of the extra things Microsoft is building in for the first 20 hours, my clients will never use the one stuff.
But-
They're too big. They
Yeah.
we don't have the scale.
But I think going back to a point that Jason mentioned and on reflection on your point as well, the challenge is what if they do in the future? What, as I said, sales. I think there's a strong argument for and against. But I think if you think about something like customer service, if in the future you need to do a full case management with SLAs and case routing and all the functionality that comes with case management, and the customer has started on Power Platform and you created custom entities, you can't just transition across from custom entity my case to Microsoft case.
That's why you start off with at least one Dynamics license.
Start off with the one Dynamics license.
Get the storage.
We've got that forward path.
So,
There's nothing in the license thing that says you cannot do it.
Exactly, you're allowed to use Dynamics.
Exactly. So we install every Power Apps license set up, one sales license, one customer service. Build everything outside base, and we need field service or scheduling control rooms on.
so you're saying that from a licensing perspective, you're ex-Microsoft, you can tell us, right? Get to
People want Dynamics license, but you've got to remember that Dynamics is not just entities.
yes.
So any non-restricted entity you build on 100%. The point that's been made here, which is really important, is that business logic is the thing that matters,
Yes.
not the data.
Not the data model. Yeah. But even the data model, there are lots of restricted entities, including case.
This is semi-restricted.
Semi?
We haven't got time for this, I don't think. It's too complicated.
If you look at the restricted entity list, it is surprisingly sparse, but then there are a couple of key ones that we I think it's like case and like as well.
Okay. Right. What else do we have? So, how do we decide?
Got 4 minutes.
Got 4 minutes to make a decision. Right. So I think. Yeah. Please go ahead. Proceed. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Yeah. So the 2 points, to summarize your point, 2 things you said. Number one is there are skills within the organization that you have to take into account, because it might be they are more Dynamics, more Power Platform, or they don't have Power Platform capabilities. But the second point, you're saying that Dynamics is easier to manage and maintain as opposed to Power Platform. Would you guys agree with that?
Yes.
I'll come in. No, I was just going to make a point, like almost to your point earlier, with the it's always, how do you decide? It depends. It depends a lot on the organisation, the capabilities they've got, the maturity they're at. But one thing that kind of I always come back to is a lot of businesses buy Salesforce over Dynamics. Far more companies buy Salesforce because it's so better, it's easier. It also costs twice as much. But there's a reason that people choose it, because it's out of the box usable, basically. I mean, you could do the same with Dynamics, but it's not just about functionality or just about price or just about capability. It's always a mix of all these different things to decide.
In regards to in agreement with, yes, it's something that you have to consider. You've got to consider who the solution is going to be for. But I also agree in terms of just standard usability of a solution, because someone said, I can't remember who said it, in terms of like solutions, not just apps. And it's so key. Like, people want a solution. They don't care about which apps and whatever. They just want something that works, right? And if Salesforce is going to give it to them, they're going to go to Salesforce, even if it costs more. So that's definitely a reason to kind of go with D365 and then put Power Platform on top of it.
Yeah. I'm just so disappointed that you're mentioning the S word in this meeting. Salesforce, better, more companies are buying it. Oh my God, I just can't believe that.
I'm going to train up in Salesforce.
One other thing as well,
Yeah.
just let you know, another reason that a lot of people do go there is because they actually, their demos look fancy, but then it's a real need.
Yes.
So they actually come back to us anyway.
So
It is
Salesforce
pre-sales.
is paying, and they come back to us afterwards. Yeah, I agree.
But that's the
more
fault
like
of pre-sales people, right? Yeah.
What about the third B, business change?
The what, sorry?
Third B of that, build, buy, business change.
Business change. What about business change?
In what context would you you say?
Build and buy, because you can buy and you can have business change. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can, and you can change your business processes to fit better in with what you're buying. You don't need to do any building at all.
Right, I see what you mean. This is the kind of thing that a lot of companies want to do. They say, we'll change our processes to fit the system. Has anybody ever really experienced that?
They say it, but
Yeah, exactly. Because they want to keep things cheap. They don't want to do that development customization. But in reality, probably not realistic, in my experience.
I think. Did you have a question earlier, or is this?
It was perfectly answered with what you guys were saying. I
Yeah.
thought, I came with the notion that Dynamics was a little bit limited in terms of company going through changes. It's kind of hard, but after listening to you guys, I noticed that actually Dynamics really covers practically 80% of every process that goes on in the business, and it's easier to have that as a starting point, and then using Power Platform to
Yeah.
customize it whatever you need. So definitely, just considering the cost, and not everybody's handy here to
Yeah.
Have these skills to build something
build
like
everything,
that,
yeah.
so.
Yeah. So Dynamics sits on the Power Platform, so it definitely gives you more features. But both of them have similar capabilities of extending. You can extend Dynamics, you can extend Power Platform exactly the same way. In reality, it's one system. There's a lot of marketing around what the Power Platform versus Dynamics, but the reality is Power Platform is the same thing as Dynamics. The difference is that Dynamics apps, like customer service, for example, or any of the apps that we discussed, they come with built-in functionality, things that are already been built, like service level agreement functionality. It's a very complex functionality. There are quite a few other things that come pre-built that I would highly, personally, on a personal level, from a design decision, I would personally say never go and custom build it, because it's going to cost a lot and it's not the right thing to do. But there are things which, as we said, maybe someone wants a very basic sales system. They don't want to buy the Dynamics 365 sales. They can go and build it on the Power Platform with the understanding that I don't think it's going to be that easy to transform. Maybe we disagree on this one, but to transform across to the capabilities that come with a sales license, for example. But I think there's one important point that Chris mentioned today, and quite a few others, which is, and you've mentioned, which is I would also recommend that you always start with a Dynamics environment, even if you're planning to do this as a Power Platform project, because currently you can't migrate a Power Platform environment to become Dynamics. But if it is a Dynamics environment, it already has Power Platform. So you buy one license, you get a Dynamics environment, and then you build it as a Power Platform, and the rest will be Power Apps users, but they can't be using the features and the functionalities of Dynamics. They will still have to be only on the Power Platform side. But always start with Dynamics, in my opinion, as a solution to allow you at least to transfer, to move or transfer across to it. Right. So.
So we could extend this session for another 2 hours and probably carry on talking
Shall we?
about this, but we are out of time, I think. But thank you. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. It's always, it's not like a discussion that you can kind of finish in 40 minutes or have it done. But thanks for the questions. If you've got any questions also, we're here all day, as they say. So yeah, come up afterwards.
Please do the scan the QR code and do the feedback. We would appreciate. You're only allowed to do 5. I don't think you can do 4 or 3, but yeah. If you're planning to do less than 5, please don't scan the code.
But thank you to our panel.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone for coming, and hopefully you're enjoying the day, and we'll see you at the pub quiz later.
Yeah.